Okay, hello folks. Welcome to Got Your Back. Rashog and Strudwick post-game edition. Oilers with a 5-2 win over the Seattle Kraken tonight. A big divisional win. This is a team they're chasing. They needed to come up with a big effort and continue their consistent play, and they were able to do that on this night. We're going to get to Jason Strudwick in just a moment. Our apologies. We had a few streaming issues before, but I think we're up now. Either way, we're pushing through because we're doing a podcast. So if we're not live, then, well, you'll have to download the podcast, which you can do on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, all the different platforms. But I think we're up. So we're just going to push on through. Reminder that Got Your Back brought to you by our good friends over at Mr. Dirk, located just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Mr. Dirk, your one-stop shop for all your clothing needs. If you're a businessman, you want to sharpen up for your next meeting, or if you want to sharpen up your casual look as well. The great thing about Mr. Dirk is whatever you need, you walk through the door and they've got you covered. Jeans, shirts, pants, suits, ties, coats, whatever you need. Sterling, Dan, and the crew at Mr. Dirk does a great job of taking care of you. Great looking shop too. Really, really sharp. I love it. So does Struddy. And I'm due, so I'm going to be heading down to Mr. Dirk shortly. Okay, going to try and get to Jason Strudwick here. Checking in. Struddy, how are you, my friend? You got
good.
Me?
I got you.
Hey, you've been very patient tonight. I appreciate it. It's been a bit of a technical mayhem mess, but you've sat there like a good teammate.
That's what a guy does, right? Hang out, just hanging out in the weeds. When I'm called upon, I'm ready, bringing the lefty.
Sounds good. So now where would you're home tonight, so you watch the game on the tube, like you sit back and you taking notes, or like what does Jason Strudwick watching the game look like?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, my one son had practice, so I came home and zipped through. You kind of catch up to the game, right?
The old delayed start, right? Fast forward through the commercial breaks. Yeah, I do that the odd time.
Yeah, so I write little notes down, and I not the obvious ones, right? Like I try to do something that I think is different, or that I see that maybe surprised me, or I wasn't expecting from a game, and then just try to put them into just two or three. I think if I get too many ideas, it kind of gets scattered. I find when I used to do my nighttime radio show, I try to get 8 to 10 things. Now I'm at 2 or 3, and what I think are the highlights of what I saw, and then try to work on those.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. I actually started taking notes digitally this last year. So I'm that nerd that has the iPad, and I have the stylus. I can't show you because I'm using the iPad on the stream here, but I got the stylus, and I actually have tried to take a whole season worth of notes on an iPad. Right. And it's been interesting. I realize how bad my printing is when you look back over it digitally. It's tough. I often look at notes and I can't figure out what I was getting at.
That's how I am with my own handwriting. That's why I can only usually read 2 or 3 things out of the notes I take. So that's why I go with those.
Nice. So we're going to get to the game tonight, just so people kind of know what to expect. We're going to try and take some comments here on the stream. And we'll get to that in the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions. We're going to break down the Oiler game. There was also a happening in the NHL tonight with the Philadelphia Flyers. If you hadn't heard that Ivan Provorov, one of their defensemen, chose not to take warm-up because it was Pride night. And he said after the game it was against his religion to take part in something like that. So he sat out warm-up and ended up playing the game. And it really has created a lot of stir, as you might expect, on Twitter. So we are going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to do that in our second segment, in our takeaway segment. For right now, let's get to the Oilers' really important win over the Seattle Kraken, and that'll be the breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. And they've got some of the nicest maintenance-free fencing and decking out there. If you've always had that wood fence in your backyard and it's getting a little sketchy and you know it's time to change it up, give some serious thought to going maintenance-free. No more sanding, staining, no more worrying about upkeep. DLR Vinyl has locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. The return of Evander Kane to the lineup tonight, Struds, and we can definitely deal with that. But big picture, what did you like about what you saw from the Oilers tonight?
They're trending in the right direction. I thought this was a huge game. And I'm not going to say it was a must-win, but it's one of those games that kind of put the Oilers right back in the meat, the heart of this battle for this specific division. The Seattle went on an incredible run. There's an injury issue now with Vegas. The Kings, they keep hanging around. It's an interesting group. The Flames maybe trying to find some. Colorado, I think that I recognize they're on the Pacific, but they're coming. But I thought this was a huge game. And I really thought they needed these 2 points. And not only did they get 2 points, I thought it was a convincing win. With help through the lineup. The entire lineup tonight brought it. From Campbell right out to the captain with his another sick goal.
It's like they were having a competition for who could get the grittiest, dirtiest goal, like bouncing him in off Hyman's chest, Warren Foegele from his rear end. I mean, you got to score goals from in and around that area, and this team gets more than its share of the fancy ones, Struddy. But I liked the amount that they generated at even strength tonight, but I also liked just kind of the grittiness that they generated some of it with.
It was great. And anytime you're healthy scratched and you can come back, and it'll happen to Puljujarvi, how do you respond, right? What is your response? And I always look forward to, game 1, 2, or 3 after a guy sits out. And I thought that Foegele specifically was really buzzing tonight. He came out and he was going hard and skating, attacking the net. After the game, he said, the blue paint's where I want to get more often. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. You're a very big, fast, strong guy. And there was multiple goals scored there. You think of Ryan's, you think of McLeod's, you think of obviously Fogel's. Like those are great goals to score because anyone can score them. You don't have to be uber skilled to tap those in, Shagar.
Yeah, and like for Foegele, I love your point about Foegele. I mean, these are all the things you watch Klim Kostin play and you think Warren Foegele has the ability to do a lot of that. Now, there's maybe a little bit of a different level of puck skills there, but just, you know what I mean, being a big guy and making a difference in a game by using that size. So Foegele goes out there tonight, healthy scratched a couple of times. That's going to be a kick in the pride to a guy like that who wants to be in there every night. So he played 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Kind of felt like he played more than that when you think about how often he was touching that game. 6 shots on net. They needed that kind of play from him. And the middle tier of the lineup on a night like this came through for them in an important way. That middle tier, they're not going to get where they want to go without those guys being able to come up with nights like this.
Let's take the goals out. Let's say they don't score any goals, those three, that middle group. They still tilted the ice. And that's what you need to see from that group. And I know I don't want to get into an analytics battle. They got to score. They do. But you can't score if you're not tilting the ice. Like that's what comes first. I'll tell you what's come first. You tilting the ice, being on your toes, attacking the blue paint, getting the puck in the offensive zone, making smart plays with the puck to get it in offensive zone. Then you do all that right, and then you're rewarded with goals. So I love that they tilted the ice, and I think it's great that these guys are contributing in a meaningful way in what I call a very big game for this team.
Yeah, for sure. Going to go to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions. We're going to try and get to a bunch of these tonight, so check us out. By the way, somebody let me know if we're live on YouTube or not, because I've got too much going on to try and check on the fly here. If we are, great. If we're not, oh well, we'll figure it out for next time. But to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions, Steve Taylor, BC, our good buddy out there, says, happy to see McLeod get rewarded. Hope he spends more time around the blue paint. That's Ryan McLeod in a nutshell, hey Struds, when he is willing to go there. And when he plays with a willingness to be there, he brings a different quality to the game.
I think it's more than that, though. I think he has to get the puck, drive it wide, and attack the blue paint with the puck. He's got speed to do that.
Yep.
There's someone on his team who does it very well. He happens to wear the C on his jersey and 97 on his back. Watch him. Now, I'm not suggesting McLeod is quite as quick, but he's almost as fast and maybe not as skilled. But when you get a half step on a D-man, you have to drive the puck there. That creates so many problems for defensemen.
That's so,
yes, I agree with Steve, but the puck has to get there somehow. When it's on your stick, get that puck with speed and attack the net.
Yeah, it's a good point, Struds, that you make about McLeod, because in today's game, you don't see a lot of guys with that drive wide and actually beat a D-man wide. Like the D are pretty good and they play it pretty carefully. McLeod is a player that has the speed to expose players wide. And I'm trying to think of the number of times I've seen him take the thing wide and drop the shoulder and take it hard to the blue paint and, get hit as he's going there, or there's a big collision or something like that. He's not a player that has a lot of that in his game. So I take your point well that most of those opportunities where it looks like he can beat a guy wide, he ends up shooting it.
Yeah, and there's a time for a shot, but my God, your wingers will love you if you drive that net hard of that puck, because oftentimes it's just carnage behind you. D-men falling down, bad rebounds, tap-ins, like it's you've got to have that in your tool. And look at Connor. I mean, again, it's probably a little unfair, but Connor's a threat to drive the puck every single time. But now he's not doing it every time. What did he do tonight? From distance, he shot it. Boom, through kind of like a D-man. So you mix it up. So I love when guys take it there, especially when you have the speed to do so.
Your thoughts on Evander Kane tonight, who let's just give his stats line here quickly before you give us your thoughts. Evander Kane was -1, 17:09 he played, 22 shifts. Average shift length was 46 seconds. Seven shots on net, 11 attempts, and 5 hits. So he's all over this score sheet. What'd you see?
Compared to last year when he joined the Oilers, his legs looked a lot better. He was way quicker.
Yeah, he said that. Hey, post game. Yeah. That's so funny that you say that, Struds, because it's the first thing he said. He was, I feel a lot better than I did when I started last year.
Well, let's give credit where it should be given. Dave Pelche spent a lot of time with him. And when you have a situation where your hand is unavailable, the only things you can use are your legs. So he used his legs a ton. So I knew his legs would be fine. The contact, I thought he was pretty good in contact. I thought around the net, he looked a little off balance. Unsure, like unstable almost. And that's not like him. When you see him scoring, he's locked in, he's ready to tap in those shots. So that's just that to me, that's just rust. And it's going to take some time to get that shaken off, but he's getting to the right areas. But legs look great, hands, and that goal scoring touch that we're accustomed to seeing on the big guy just wasn't there. I'm assuming he'll come back with some reps and just simply getting back into a game routine. Like he hasn't done it for so long. Get back into it. Now he's a full practice tomorrow, probably morning skate Thursday, and then kind of get back in on Thursday night. And I'm sure he'll I'm guessing he'll score. I don't know if I'm calling my shot, but I'll put it in there.
You're calling a goal next game for Evander Kane?
I think so. Yeah,
Scrub64 says Kane has at least 2 goals if his timing is on. And he did admit afterwards that everything but the hands, like the timing, felt pretty good tonight. You could see that a little bit. That's gonna take some time, and especially when you're dealing with a wrist injury. Let's address this. John Scotch says, what do you make of the JP to Boston rumors? Now, did you see what Brad Marchand did tonight?
Yeah.
So somebody tweeted lines with the Boston Bruins and included Puljujarvi in the lines, and then Brad Marchand tweeted this emoji, right? Like, shh, be quiet. Now, Puljujarvi was a healthy scratch tonight. I'm here to tell you he wasn't healthy scratched because he's about to be traded to the Boston Bruins. He was healthy scratched because Jay Woodcroft went 11-7 tonight and Puljujarvi was the odd man out. That's why Puljujarvi was scratched tonight. No question about that. I don't believe anything is imminent. I think Brad Marchand gets it on social media. He knows, hey, he engages like this sometimes. So I don't know how far I want to take these quote unquote rumors. I think it's Brad Marchand being a goof. What do you think?
Yeah, I listen. Puljujarvi, I think, is a productive NHL player.
Is he?
But if you notice where he put him on the line, he was on the third line. That's where he should be. That's his spot. And maybe when he goes to the next place, there's more. How can I say? Maybe less expectations, both for himself and for the organization, about what he can do, and then you kind of find his way. But I like him. I've always liked him as a player. But it seems like he's fighting in right now about who he should be, and maybe the organization. I don't know. It's a mess. So do I think he can go to another team and be productive? Yes, I do. I do believe that. Is he going to be a 30, 40 goal scorer? I don't see that. I don't see that right now. No, but he is disruptive. And I believe a third, fourth liner is disruptive. The problem is, Schauger, he's at $3 million. That's a big ticket for a third liner. Doesn't score right now.
Yeah, Scrub says, why would the best team in the NHL have any interest in a project right now? Especially, with Puljujarvi too, the idea is the qualifying offer. Who's qualifying him at that $3 million? And so he becomes an unrestricted free agent and. I'm not sure. Third line, he's got 4 goals in 45 games. I think there's a good chance that wherever he goes next, he'll do better than he does here, because here there's a lot of history that's weighing him down. I think confidence is an issue. Expectations is an issue. I think when he goes somewhere else, he'll be freed of a lot of that. And I think, he has the chance to have who knows, maybe there's even a Klim Kostin type resurgence within the second organization, right? That potentially can be brought out of him. So I like the kid. You wish him well. It's been rough seeing the evolution of it here because it's been so up and down. But I mean, he's all smiles all the time, and how can you not, root for a kid that sort of brings that attitude to the rink every day? Just for whatever reason, it hasn't been a great fit, and it hasn't gone very well. And fully healthy scratch tonight. Do you think? They'll get him back in, I'm assuming, and maybe he gets a little bit of a bounce from that. Struds Fogle did.
How do you respond? Man? Like that's the business. He's been passed by others. I think Janmark and Kostin have passed him right now. But the great thing is it's not one. The season isn't one game, so he can come back and he can respond as well. So what does that look like? Well, maybe it's tapping a few more goals in, a couple puck plays, things like that. But he can respond, and that's a great thing about this game. And it took me a long time to realize that even if you don't play game one, there's 81 after you can get into, and you really, quite honestly, want to be more in game 82 than you were in game one. So. I hold out hope he can find a way, but I said it last year. I'll say it again. When you make $1.15 million or 1.125, what he made last year, you're not scoring, or you're not, he kind of overshot his contract, bumped up more than double. It's not good enough anymore, right? $3 million. There's higher expectations. And to be fair, there's higher expectations with Yamamoto and Fogle as well. That's the business. That is the business of new contracts.
And, of course, a reminder that, Yamamoto goes to long-term injured reserve. He'll be missing until after the All-Star break. He has to sit out that 10 games. So just not right. And maybe it's an opportunity to give him the break he needs to finally get healthy once and for all. Like, this is a player who's been fighting health issues all season long, Struds. And I guess you have guys that want to try and play through things at a certain point, though. And I don't know exactly what's going on with Yamamoto, but I imagine the hope is to just give him the space he needs right now to fully heal and then come back healthy and ready to make a push for the playoffs. At some point, you got to just give him that time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously the timing is perfect. I don't believe in coincidences. So I'm guessing this may have been on the radar for both players. Amazing. We have one guy coming back and one guy ready to go on there, right? Like it just.
So, but do you really think though that they would muck around with Yamamoto's availability based on Kane coming back? Like, they wouldn't risk putting him in games where he clearly needed more time because Kane wasn't available yet, would they? Like, do you see those two things lining up that way?
Well, it sure did today. What a miracle. I guess it's just a miracle lately. What an absolute miracle that just happened today. I can't believe it. It just seems incredible. There's 183 days in the NHL season or whatever it is. And this day was a day that one had to go on LTIR and one had to come off. I can't believe it. I mean, it just seems incredible. So maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt it, man, because it's just too good to be true, Shagar. I just... Sometimes you said, like I said it the other day, actually on Greg's show, I said, I wonder if someone won't get an injury, right? There's always injuries coming up.
But remember, he didn't just suddenly get pulled out of the lineup, and he's been out of the lineup lately. So
yeah, but how many games did he miss prior to Kane coming back?
I want to say 2. I think he missed 2.
2 games.
I may be wrong about that.
So maybe this has been lingering. So I'm just guessing completely here, but is it like a groin problem? Is it a sore back?
I think it might be like a core, maybe a head/wrist or something like that. Like he had concussion issues and stuff too, right?
So, I mean, you're not playing good, or you're not feeling good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just too jaded, but I've just seen it too many times where the old Hossa skin injury, right? The old skin rash. Couldn't play anymore when he started making $1 million a year. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
I can't believe these
I just don't think this one's nefarious necessarily. I think Yamamoto's injury has been lingering, and I think he's been trying to play through it. And when you get Kane back, you probably think, okay, now would be an okay time for him to take the time he needs and get it done, And anyways, it is interesting timing, and you've been behind the scenes, You know what's really going on. Before we started the live stream, I asked for some comments on Twitter and the Weiss Johnson mention. So, Struds, you can go to that in just a second here.
Yes.
First, we will remind you that Weiss Johnson, they've had 45 years in the business. And so should you need a new furnace, garage heater, air conditioner, hot water tank, any of those things, or you need them serviced, Weiss Johnson is the place to go. And they got some awesome specials on right now. No GST on garage heaters. And 20% off all in-stock air conditioners when you purchase a furnace. Time for the jingle. What do you got, Struds, from the comments?
Holland is the best GM. That's what this guy says. Broberg has changed the team's whole team D. He has calmed Bush down and taking minutes from Nurse Kulak. They seem fresh in the third as well. Never panics. Great stick work on D. Can't see Ken Hall adding him to trade for anyone. And this kind of echoes what I've been saying. So I don't know if this is, I don't think that's my burner account, but I'll have to double check if I sent that out after a couple ports.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I think Broberg has really been good. I believe he was close to second in 5-on-5 ice time. He and Bouchard. I think it was Nurse, he and Bouchard that rolled out the most. I might be wrong, but I think I'm in that. And you know, he just looks calm out there. Like his last 5 games, he's +8. And I don't know, not everyone likes plus minus, but I'll tell you
+4
what,
tonight.
When you're a D man, you love it. You absolutely love it. And calm out there. He seems to be growing in confidence. And Shaga, this is weird, but to me, he looks bigger. Like, I don't know if he's skating bigger, puffing out his chest or something, but he looks like a bigger player on the ice. So I mean, the goal was to get Broberg come in and play some heavier minutes. And he's trending in that direction right now.
Yeah.
Four really good games. And now the team is playing better also. So what comes first? But I don't think we can dismiss and say he's not part of the solution of these last 4 games.
Yeah, you and I have been talking a lot on recent podcasts about potentially involving Philip Broberg in a trade, you know, for the Oilers to upgrade their blue line. And I think the conversation that he's maybe changing a little bit here is whether or not you'd be willing to include him in that package. I don't think that Philip Broberg playing the way he's playing right now changes what the Edmonton Oilers need is. I don't think he changes that. But I do think with this real nice uptick in play, he's changing the idea of him potentially being part of that trade. So to me, the need remains, and Broberg playing well is excellent. But I still believe that the Oilers need to upgrade the left side of the blue line. And for those who are concerned about Edmondson or Chychrun or someone who comes in next season with contract and pushes Broberg out, I guess what I would say is if he's that good and if he's going to stick around, you can trade Kulak if you need to and make space for Broberg over there. If you put somebody in front of him for the playoffs and he's that good, well, now he's battling Kulak for starts in the playoffs because he's that good, right? So the Oilers still need to upgrade their top 4. Philip Broberg playing better doesn't change that for me, Struds. You?
The problem, what are you going to give up? Like I'm also off the Holloway trade train as well. I just think these 2 guys, I could just see what they're going to be. And they're starting to show glimpses. Like Holloway too, 2 apples. Like, gets the puck in there deep, hang on to it. He's getting absolutely abused, just holds on to it. And I love that. I love that. That's what the Oilers do not have enough of. And they're getting some of their lineup. And they're homegrown, drafted, bought, all that stuff at home. So, you know, the addition. So let me. I don't want to get into the trade thing again. So
We're doing it. It's happening.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to bite. Let's stay on Broberg.
Okay.
Let's just say this. I think Broberg and Bouchard are starting to show what they can look like together.
They've really stuck with those 2, hey? Like, they've really stuck with those 2.
I wonder if we can look ahead. What does that look like in a year, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like in 1 year? 1 year from now, 80 games from now, plus playoffs this year. What does that look like? And I'm sure Ken Holland's trying to figure that out. What does that look like? What does that look like? Man, it's tough. It's a tough sell.
Scrub 64, after these last couple of games, I'd be way more hesitant to trade Broberg now. Please no Edmondson. Not a fan of Edmondson there. Broberg's been great, says Stony Oil, still playing soft competition. Shouldn't stop a move for a massive piece like a Chychrun. After LA game, we all wanted a new D-man or 2. What do you see are their improvements in these last games? Struds, I'll give that one to you from Jeff Wright. there has been an uptick in overall play on the blue line. I think we'd include Darnell Nurse in that certainly as well. What do you think is different right now?
Well, I think it starts with the forwards, just their ability to come back and be more, not that they were being lazy, but just more helpful from the offensive zone where they reload. Again, that means when you get above the puck, when you've kind of forechecked, and I think that gives those D-men more comfort to stand up. I think there's been, since Vinny Darnay's come in, there seems to be more battling in front of the Oilers' net.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's just because, we haven't seen a lot. And now when you see it, you're like, oh my God, look at this guy. It's really, really noticeable. So maybe it's becoming a little bit contagious in some of those guys. Like Kulak should be able to do it. Well, obviously Darnay has to do it, or else he'll be upstairs fighting the popcorn. Yeah. You look at, I think Darnell Nurse is doing it. I think Cece's got to find a little bit more of that as well. And Bouchard has a way of doing it. So they have been better, I think more poised, but overall, I think the T game's improved, and it makes the game easier for the D-men.
Vincent Darnay, 950 tonight, picked up an assist. This guy's chipping in, man. Like, he's figuring out ways to chip in, and they scratched Yer Puljujarvi tonight because they could not take him out of the lineup.
Yeah, he's a gamer. He's a gamer, isn't he? And he had that just a couple battles in front, and I said it last time on the podcast. Every time someone's coming in front of their net, they're greeted with a large man who wants to cross-check them.
The Seaweed Man.
Yeah, that's the worst nickname. But I just love the fact that he just does that. Like, cross-check, welcome to my house. Here's a cross-check for you. And I love that. Like, I just think Adam Marston did it for a long time here too. And he was brutal to play against. But when you do it, it just makes it more comfortable around your net, and maybe keeps guys their distance a little further away from that. But like I said, it's great that Darnay is doing it. They need more guys to get on that cross-check train.
Yeah, the little hacks and slashes I like too. I know you mentioned it, but like you watch them behind the play. I'm not sure if the TV cameras caught it or not, but in behind play, Struds, if they were running a guy up high to draw him back, he'd be standing on the blue line, the other guy's there, and he just reaches over like whack. Right. And the refs were letting it go. The guy would give him a couple of whacks back. Like he's not afraid to be aggressive and kind of mean. And I think that as long as you're not taking untimed bad penalties, you welcome some aggression and kind of meanness on that blue line.
I made a comment the other day, and I'll stand by it, is that there's a lot of satisfaction in being mean in the quiet parts of the game. And so you're talking about there's no reason for him to slash anybody there. There's none. Like why? But I love it because you're just trying to get up the other guy's, get into his head. And I used to do it when the play would leave our end. I'd try to find someone and slash the back of their leg for no reason, like just no reason at all. And like guys would turn around like, what is your problem? Like no problem.
I'm just in a bad mood, pal. I don't like you.
I don't really want to be. Yeah. I don't really want to be out here with you. Like I'm not happy to. And so those are the quiet parts of the game, and it rarely gets called. Every now and then a guy will drop and roll around the ice like he just broke his ankle, but it's worth it for the other 100 you don't get called.
I don't like. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe I'm super old school. I'd be interested in if people are tuning in here what their thoughts are. The stuff I don't really like when I see out there is like the whistle goes and it's like, tap on the guy's bum, or a guy fell down in the crease, and you're making it look like, are you okay? Like helping a guy up, or a laugh with a guy off a face-off and stuff like that. And I know the game has changed and it's different, and this is like the caveman in me coming out. But I see that stuff and I'm sort of like, I just don't feel like it should be that way. You should be generally sort of in a grumpy mood about your opposition night in, night out. But I guess some guys are just too good at guys. It's changing. Hey, is that unrealistic?
You can't do it on your Instagram friends.
Yeah. That's true. That's a good point by you. I don't know. Would you have ever been friendly in a game with somebody while you were playing?
No. Oh, I would never play it again. They just kicked me out of the league. But I wasn't dirty. I wasn't super, but I liked being a little bit dirty. I mean, I enjoyed that part of it. And I don't think that if it's not in you, it's not in you. But I think to our original point here, Vinny, I think there's some mean in him. And I don't remember who was making the point. Maybe it was Louis DeBrusk in previous games. They just talked about how he'd watched a lot of tapes of Zdeno Chara, and Chara was very mean, very mean. And like a Pronger, think of Pronger, Chara, Sheldon Surrey, just mean and just with your stick. And it's so irritating because you just chop you. And God, I like it actually.
How about Connor McDavid again? This desire to 2-3 quick little stick handles and then just bullets from the middle of the ice. Just darts he is firing from the middle of the ice. You go back and look at his early years. He did not score goals this way this often. He has found this in his game, Struds, this deke to the middle of the ice and then a bullet.
Yeah. Kind of comes and pulls it from the middle, just go to the outside and let it fly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a big goal for the Oilers at that point. And he's got, what has he got? 38 now. There's no doubt that the volume is good, but the timing, like that's a well-timed goal. And it felt like, okay, boom, let's go play, guys. Like we're tied up. I think that was a tying goal. Was that? I think so.
Yeah, I got the summary here.
And he's like, hey guys, let's just do this. Let's just go
1-1 goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey guys, we got, I tied it up. Let's go get it. Let's go. And everyone started rolling after that. So timing of the goals from your captain and your big goal scorer was noticeable with Connor.
Standings looking a lot better here for the Edmonton Oilers after their fourth consecutive win. Couple points up on the Calgary Flames. They do have a game in hand, but sitting in the first wild card spot, 53 points. Same number of games that the LA Kings have played, and they're just 3 points back. 2 fewer games than Seattle, 3 points back. So they're making up some ground, and they've got some scheduling coming up here where they continue to try and make up ground. So they have found their game at an absolutely ideal time. Better quality 5-on-5. Their goaltending's rounding into shape. Evander Kane is back. Things seem to be straightening out here for the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, that was the breakdown. All right, our final segment tonight before we wrap up is going to be takeaways. And, of course, that's brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC. They're just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. They're the #1 GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years running. The all-new redesigned Sierra 1500 is absolutely fantastic. I'm lucky enough to have one, and I absolutely love it. Go see Phil and the crew down at Sherwood Buick GMC. They actually have inventory, so if you're looking for a truck, looking for a car, an SUV, go see them, and they will definitely get you set up. Okay, Struds, contentious content tonight in our takeaways segment, and I just felt like we needed to at least address this tonight because it was basically the biggest story happening around the National Hockey League. The Philadelphia Flyers had their Pride night tonight at their game. And defenseman Ivan Provorov made the decision not to take part in warm-up because they were wearing some a Pride sweater, and they had their sticks taped as well, as we've seen many teams across the National Hockey League do for a number of years here. So he did not take part in warm-up, and then he was given the green light to play the game, played 22 minutes for the Flyers in that game. After the game, he did a media availability in which his comments were this, quote, "I respect everyone. I respect everybody's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself and my religion." And he declined to take any further questions after that, wanting reporters to focus on hockey. So I wouldn't say he did a media availability. What I'd say is he made a statement. John Tortorella came out after the game as well. He had some comments. He said with Provi, he's being true to himself and his religion. This has to do with his belief and his religion. That's one thing I respect about Provi. He's always true to himself. The Flyers also put out a statement earlier on because when reporters picked up on what was happening, the story broke. And it's important to get all these statements out there so everything's in proper context. The Philadelphia Flyers organization is committed to inclusivity and is proud to support the LGBTQ plus community. Many of our players are active in their support of local LGBTQ plus organizations, and we were proud to host our annual Pride Night again this year. The Flyers will continue to be strong advocates for inclusivity in the LGBTQ plus community, that according to a team spokesman. I'm going to give you my opinion, Struds, and then you can weigh in on this.
Yeah.
I think the Philadelphia Flyers made a mistake tonight. I think that if Provorov didn't want to take part in what the organization was choosing to shine a light on and celebrate, I think he should have sat the whole day out. This isn't just about warm-up. They had members of the Pride community at the rink at the morning skate. We've all seen these games, right? At commercial breaks, they're doing ads on the billboard. It's an event. The whole night is an event celebrating this really important issue and this cause, and it's about inclusivity. So really, this is an event. And if Provorov didn't want to be part of it, I think the organization should have had him sit out the entire day. And I think they should have been honest about why he was sitting out the entire day. And I think they should have had him do his media availability the next day to talk about it. And then, quite frankly, the organization would have to figure out how they were going to handle it moving forward. But I think by allowing him to sit out warm-up, but play in the game and be part of the night, I think they could have done a better job of showing their commitment to inclusivity on that day in which they were trying to send the message of inclusivity. I think he should have sat out the whole day. What are your thoughts on this happening?
I'm very clear on my position of this. I am very supportive of the LGBTQ community. I have been for a long time. When I met my wife, her roommate was a member of that community. To be honest, I had zero experience prior to that, or very limited. Not out of choice, just we weren't running in the same circles. And I became very close to him, and we became very good friends. I learned a lot. I'm sure I asked him 1,000 questions, and I grew to have an understanding and a real understanding of what it's all about. So when I saw Provorov trending on Twitter, I thought he got traded. I was like, oh geez, this guy, that didn't last very long. He got dealt. And I saw that, and unlike John Tortorella, I do not respect his decision. I don't respect it at all. Now those can be his values and his church, the Russian Orthodox Church, they make those choices. I guess, or I don't know. I tried to look it up, and you could see that there's some things within that community that is not into the LGBTQ community, but I don't respect it. I don't agree with it. And I think the interesting thing is if there are players in that room that have relationships with people in that community, whether it's siblings or aunts or uncles, friends, whatever, how do they accept that? Knowing what's there, I don't know. I am not okay with this at all. It bothers me a lot, if you want to know the truth.
And I'm taking a little bit here. Frank Saravalli reported on this tonight on Daily Faceoff, so I'm taking a little bit of info from his article here. He points out the fact that there are some players here. Scott Lawton and James Van Riemsdyk have been active in the LGBTQ plus community. They have a program in support of local youth last season. Both players met with guests after the game. So there are players who are active with this cause. And I just wonder, and apparently there was also reporting that, listen, they knew this was coming and they met about it ahead of time. And this is kind of where they landed on how to handle it. But I wonder what it'd be like in that locker room, Struds, among players who maybe have family members and loved ones. And this is an important thing for many, many people. And what this maybe has the potential to do in a locker room, or how it would resonate in a locker room for a player to do something like this. And don't get me wrong, like you're not going to force somebody to do something. If they don't want to be part of it, nobody can force them to be part of it. And I've seen a lot of interesting comments on Twitter from people from that community who say, we don't want any false support here. Like we would rather people be showing their true face than falsely supporting it. But that doesn't mean he should have been allowed to be part of the whole event. And he was allowed to be part of the rest of the day and the rest of the event. And I think for the organization, to pick and choose where it was okay for him to take a pass, but not, I would have just had him sit out the whole day, Struddy, and I would have had him in front of the media talking about why, as he had to post-game. I think they had an opportunity. I mean, hockey is for everyone, right? The league has been saying it for so long and so loud and wanting to make it part of what people hear. And I think this was an opportunity for a decision to be made that put that in the forefront. And I think it was a missed opportunity here.
Well, first off, one person's opinion doesn't speak for the entire league, right? I think
of course.
that's got to be clear. And I think that there have been things that have happened in the sport of hockey where everyone's getting painted with the same brush. And I, as a former player, I don't appreciate that at all by those that do it. But, I guess we tend to make broad judgments when we get emotional. But I don't like the fact that, the league might get painted and everyone's, there's not enough inclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is inclusivity. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But don't allow this one person to say everyone is thinking the same thing.
Totally agree.
The other thing is, I wonder what the NHL, if the Flyers had decided this player is no longer allowed to play in this game, or is not going to play in this game, I have no idea. What does the NHL say? What does the NHLPA say? I have no idea. Can they force a player not to? I guess you can healthy
scratch whoever you want.
Yeah,
you can healthy scratch whoever you want.
But I guess without really any, I don't know if cause is right, but I don't like his opinion, or I don't agree with his opinion, and so again, this is way out of my level of lawyership. So I don't know, but I can't believe no one didn't. I was blown away at that and talked to the league about this. I just where are we at? What kind of footing do we have here if we choose to do something? Yeah. Because you're right. The NHL is pushing hard that hockey's for everybody. And this definitely is a setback to that type of, talk.
I completely agree. And I think, some people are pointing out on Twitter here, and we appreciate all the comments that are coming in. This gets a lot of play and will get a lot of play. But, we've seen a lot of really great events, really great charitable initiatives, really great celebration, Pride nights and what the Philadelphia Flyers did tonight and what we've seen the Edmonton Oilers do. And across the league, we've seen a lot of really positive things. And I don't want what happens today to become the main narrative. And I think I like seeing what we've seen. And I think that there's been a great job done on a lot of fronts here, and definitely don't want this to undermine a lot of that good work that has been done. This is an important cause to me too. One I'm certainly passionate about, and it'll be interesting to see in the days to come, Struds, what kind of evaluation is done on the decisions that were made here. And in the final analysis at the end of the day, maybe how things can be adjusted or tweaked moving forward. And we will see. The one thing I also want to address is John Tortorella. There's this, idea out there that he had talked before about players kneeling during the anthem and how he would sit them out. John Tortorella circled back on those comments a few years later and said that he was wrong at that time, and that he wouldn't now do that, punish players for taking a stand and for protesting. And so I'm not sure if, he said they didn't even think about sitting Provorov out tonight. I'm not sure if maybe part of that decision on Provorov came from him eventually coming around on the other issue and saying, I'm not going to punish players who want to protest. And maybe he's thinking, well, that has to work both ways. I'm not going to try and crawl into his head. But I do think that when as an organization you take on a cause like this, you dedicate your entire day to it. It's a theme. It's really meaningful. You're inviting people in and preaching inclusivity. I think holding him out of the whole day would have been the right way to go. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. I appreciate your opinions on that, Struds.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, you know what, folks? That's going to do it for the podcast tonight. Thanks for following along, and thank you for the conversation tonight. We really appreciate all your input here on Got Your Back and on the live streams. For Oiler fans, you finished the night feeling pretty darn good about yourselves and your team. They're on a nice little run here, clawing their way back in the standings, and lots to look forward to. How about the Tampa Bay Lightning rolling into town in a couple of days? Probably Skinner, hey? Struddy, you go Skinner if he's ready. Couple more practices, get him in there.
Yeah, I think it's probably Skinner. I'll probably go Skinner, yeah. All right. Finally, we agree.
Well, I think so. Although that worries me because you've been garbage on calling goalies all year.
That's true. I have no idea. No idea.
Appreciate this, buddy. By the way, I will remind you, check out Got Your Back, LeBrun and Rashog tomorrow, the podcast I do with Pierre LeBrun covering the entire National Hockey League. We had a good chat with San Jose Sharks defenseman Erik Karlsson. So some interesting things that he had to say about the upcoming trade deadline and his future. That's going to drop tomorrow. Keep an eye, 8, 9 o'clock Mountain Time for Got Your Back, LeBrun and Rashad. Till we talk to you again, folks, thanks so much for tuning in, and look forward to chatting again soon. See ya, Strade.
See you, buddy.